Okay, welcome everybody. Um, we will probably have some people, Amanda and Molly, if you could maybe just let people in as they come in so I don't have to watch that panel there, that would be helpful.
Of course.
And okay, let's get started. Can you guys see that okay? All right. Well, good evening, everybody. Welcome to the Utah Prisoner Advocate monthly Zoom meeting. I apologize ahead of time. Getting over a head cold, so hopefully I won't start coughing. We're happy to have you all here with us. My name is Shane Severson. I am the Director of Communications for UPAN. I'll be introducing the other directors in just a moment, but before we dive into today's agenda, I'd like to take a moment to acknowledge just a few housekeeping matters. Firstly, if you could please note that the session is being recorded and will be available on our Facebook page shortly after the meeting concludes. That ensures that those who couldn't join us today can hopefully catch up later. To make this meeting hopefully as interactive as possible, we encourage those of you that are on the Zoom call with us to participate by asking respectful questions or commenting at the appropriate times. Just go ahead and use the raise hand button and we'll unmute you accordingly. If you're on a mobile device, sometimes the button's kind of hard to find because it auto hides. So sometimes you just got to tap your screen to get the button to come up. Um, you can also post any questions for our guest speaker or UPAN directors and using the Zoom chat if you're on the Zoom call with us, and we'll address those during the appropriate times. And also, just for the courtesy of everybody, if you try to keep yourself on mute when you're not talking, and then that'll help keep the background noise to a minimum, hopefully. So, for starters, I'd just like to provide some background information about UPAN and for just anybody who's new to the organization. First of all, UPAN, we're a 501c3 nonprofit, which means we're all volunteer grassroots organization. We're dedicated to advocating for meaningful change within Utah's criminal justice system. And our primary mission is to promote reform, provide support to incarcerated individuals and their families, and also to hopefully work towards a more just and humane prison system. We were founded in 2013 by individuals deeply passionate about criminal justice. Many of those have personal experiences with the criminal justice system, including myself. UPAN is committed to amplifying the voices of those who are often marginalized and overlooked. We believe in the dignity and worth of every single person, and including those who are incarcerated. We work tirelessly to advocate for their rights and well being. So, hopefully, through education, outreach, collaboration, community partners, we address issues like prison conditions, access to healthcare, mental health services, rehabilitation and reentry programs, and the impact of mass incarceration on families and communities. We do this in four primary ways. First of all, is education. So we host these monthly support meetings and send out our UPAN newsletter to help keep the public informed about important issues. You can go to our website. The URL is right there on the screen to subscribe. Dialogue, we engage in open discussions with Utah Department of Corrections and county jail administrators to advocate for change and address any concerns. Legislative advocacy, while we are not a lobbyist organization ourselves, we do partner with other organizations such as ACLU, or we have other partner organizations come in and do like citizen advocacy training so that you can get your voice heard in the legislature. So, and teach you how to work with lawmakers that, so that you can testify, maybe push for policies that promote fairness and accountability in the criminal justice system. We also have community engagement. So we host guest speakers, form coalitions with like-minded organizations, and we also maintain a hopefully helpful network of resources. So because our network is made up of volunteers, criminal justice advocates, industry professionals, expert advisors, coalition organizations, formerly incarcerated, I think we're up to over 2,500 Utah families of the incarcerated, and we just continue to grow. There's a tremendous need out there. At the core of our work are stories and experience of incarcerated individuals and their families And hopefully, by listening to their voices and working together, we believe that we can create a meaningful change and build a more equitable and compassionate society. So, whether you're a longtime supporter or new to our cause, we invite you to join us in making a difference. If you'd like to learn how to get involved, we encourage you to visit us online at utahprisoneradvocate.org. Visit our Facebook page at facebook.com/utahprisoner. We also have two private groups on Facebook. So the first one, UPAN Family Support Group. You have to answer some questions to get into this private group, but it's primarily meant for family members of the incarcerated, so that you can talk with other families that have incarcerated loved ones and share resources, emotional support, that sort of things. Get advice. Our UPAN directors are also on there to answer questions. And then we also have a separate one called UPAN Volunteer/Committees Working Group, and that's a group dedicated for so that our volunteers can talk to each other. So if there's a topic that somebody would like to spearhead, we encourage you to do that, and then meet up with the directors to hopefully get direction on that. But we encourage everybody. That's a couple of ways that you can get started. There's quite a few more. Um, we're sharing a lot of links tonight, so I've tried to simplify that with our UPAN link tree. You can go to Linktree/Utah Prisoner, and notice that Linktree is spelled a little funky here. linktr.ee. That's not a typo. That is Linktree/Utah Prisoner. I think if you actually type linktree.com/Utah Prisoner, I think it redirects anyway. But you can just bookmark that one link and you'll always have the most current URLs. So we encourage you to go check that out. So I would like to just take a moment to hopefully introduce you to some dedicated individuals behind UPAN. They're all tirelessly working towards our mission. First and foremost, of course, is Molly Prince, our co-founder and treasurer. Chris Moon, our other co-founder and secretary. Myself, I mentioned. I'm Shane Severson, director of communications. Ann Bradshaw, she is currently director over IPP issues and also event coordinator. So if you, she's actually looking for topics for next year for 2026. So if there's something you're interested, reach out to Ann, and we can see if we can find a good guest speaker on that topic. Susan Sundstrom, Director of Educational Opportunity. Karen Thompson, our Director of Special Projects. She's the one that's heading up our holiday program right now. Warren Rosenbaum, our tireless newsletter editor. Dion Corkins, our inmate newsletter volunteer coordinator. Heidi Kuby, our Director of Board of Pardons and Parole and Commissary Issues. Amanda Bixman, our Director of Programming Issues and Communications. She's also somewhat expert in CUCF issues. And then Carrie May, our Director of Employment Resources. And then on top of that, we have a dedicated med team kind of headed up by Jenny Robertson and Molly Prince. Jenny Robertson's our Director of Medical Mental Health Policy. Molly kind of handles more of the mental health, and Jenny's more kind of like the on-hand medical. Maureen Parker, our nurse practitioner, and Michelle Williams, also a nurse liaison, and she's over a lot of the medical release issues. So each member of our team, they bring their unique experience and passion to our cause, helping us to address a wide range of issues within the criminal justice system. We're so deeply grateful for their dedication and hard work. And if you have any questions or would like to get involved in any of our initiatives, you can connect with our team. Again, try to be patient because UPAN is entirely volunteer run, and our work wouldn't be possible without the support of these volunteers. So if you're interested in volunteering, please reach out by sending us an introduction to our volunteer coordinator. You can send an email to volunteer@utahprisoneradvocate.org. There's no prior experiences necessary. We're always looking for honest, reliable, self-motivated individuals to join our board of directors. We like anybody joining the board of directors to be involved in regular UPAN activities for some while, just kind of prove that you've got what it takes to be on the board of directors. But after a while, a lot of times it becomes clear who's the most passionate about driving initiatives forward. So if you're passionate about becoming a local subject matter expert, exploring new areas of advocacy, we invite you to email us at the same address, and we'll try to look at your interests and find the best fit. So, with that, I would like to introduce our guest speakers. We're so honored to welcome Karley Babcock. She's a case manager with Clean Slate Utah, who's joining us on behalf of the executive director, Destiny Garcia, who had a scheduling conflict this evening. Karley is a single mother, two daughters, and passionate advocate for systems change and redemption through meaningful service. She brings more than 5 years of experience in both client care within social service systems and broad scale advocacy within the state of Utah. Through her work with Clean Slate Utah, Karley helps people remove barriers and reclaim opportunities by navigating Utah's expungement and record clearance processes. She also serves as a crisis worker for Tooele County, supporting individuals in moments of urgent need. Karley has been seen firsthand the transformative power of grace and second chances and community support. She is deeply honored to walk alongside on the journey towards stability, dignity, and new beginnings. So tonight, Karley will share how Utah Clean Slate law is changing lives by automatically clearing eligible criminal records, the work Clean Slate Utah does to support individuals still needing petition-based expungement, and ways that we can all help expand access to second chances. So please join me in welcoming Karley Babcock from Clean Slate Utah. Take it away, Karley.
Thank you for that, and thank you all for having me tonight. Let me go ahead and share my screen. I feel like this is a group of people that knows how important this is already, but I do have some stats for you and a little slide to go through, and then I will answer some questions. Okay, let me pull this up. All right. Can everybody see my screen?
We can see it.
Perfect. All right. Clean Slate Utah, because Utahns believe in second chances. All right. So what we'll cover, the importance of clean slate laws and why they matter, about Utah's clean slate law and record clearance in Utah, the need for Clean Slate Utah and the services we provide, current expungement costs, and ways to get involved and support second chances. And I apologize, my second screen's over here, so I'm totally here. I'm going to be looking this way. All right, the need for a clean slate. Over 800,000 Utahns have some sort of criminal record. Records are permanent unless someone goes through the expungement process or qualifies for automatic clearance, which is something that we get asked a lot. I have folks call me all the time and say, well, that should have dropped off already. And I'm like, no, not how it works. Unfortunately, wish it did. 1 in 4 Utahns have a criminal record. 90% of employers use background checks. The expungement process can be complicated for folks, and 4 out of 5 landlords check backgrounds for housing. So we can see how that affects just about every area of someone's life, re-entering society after incarceration. Why clean slates matter. They provide a pathway to better employment and stable housing opportunities, reduce recidivism and create safer communities, and end cycles of intergenerational poverty, which is such a huge deal. Clean slate's a win for families, equity, employers, the economy, and communities. Life-changing impact. So once folks, are able to expunge their record, we have shown on average that they have a 20% increase in income within 1 year of record clearance, access to better housing and higher education opportunities, and licensure in their chosen field. So I think we all know folks with lived experience want to give back to the same systems and folks that have helped them in their journey. And that's, something that I've seen working in direct care and working on the kind of macro scale of advocacy and, broad scale mental health. When you've gone through it, you want to give back, and allowing folks that path to redemption and allowing them to clear their record and be able to hold titles like licensed clinical social workers, physician's assistants, really anything. Sky's the limit at that point. 64% reduced reliance on government assistance, 69% better job opportunities, and 86% less shame and emotional distress. I cannot talk right now, guys. Utah's clean slate law. Utah was the second state in the nation to pass a clean slate law, which is so cool for us. Bill passed unanimously in 2019 with bipartisan support. Implementation began in 2022, and over 500,000 people were impacted by this. And it's a little tricky, right? Because there's the Clean Slate Law and then there's us. So the Clean Slate Law, when that was put into effect, that allowed for the pathway for automatic expungement, and for those 500,000 people that were impacted by this law, they were able to legitimately automatically get certain records reduced or expunged with just a simple form, which is so cool. And what it does is shifts the burden of the expungement process from the individual to the government, and requires the state to automate clearance of most misdemeanor offenses. What qualifies for automatic expungement is misdemeanor A, drug possession, most misdemeanor B and C offenses, and all infractions. Individuals must meet or be under petition-based numerical limits and be conviction-free for 5 to 7 years. In order to qualify for any record clearance, it must be a Utah record. An individual must not be on probation or parole. No open cases, no unpaid fines, fees, and restitutions for the particular case you're trying to get expunged. And then this one's new. We haven't added this to the slide yet, but we also have found yet another barrier, of course, which is folks cannot have any active protective orders or stalking injunctions against them, even if it has nothing to do with the cases that they're trying to get expunged. Other expungement options, the court process. Offenses that don't qualify for automatic clearance may qualify through the court process. Certain offenses are not eligible for expungement by Utah law and require a pardon. And the pardons process may be needed if an individual has too many convictions or the severity of the charge. And these are granted on a case-by-case basis by the Utah Board of Pardons and Parole. Other expungement options, 402 reductions can reduce the level of a charge to make somebody eligible for expungement. In addition to record clearance requirements, they must not be required to register as a sex offender or child abuse offender. Requires legal support that can be accessed through pro bono law clinic with S.J. Quinney, Utah Legal Services, or an attorney, just to name a few. And then the need for Clean Slate Utah. So our nonprofit was created in 2021. And this was important because when the Clean Slate Law passed, there was no direct notification requirement for the Clean Slate Law. So many people out there still are sitting there with records that are eligible for automatic expungement that don't know about it. And Utahns with records that don't qualify for automatic clearance still need support accessing expungement opportunities. Our goals as an organization are to work with government agencies to ensure Utah's Clean Slate Law is fully implemented and all eligible records are cleared. For Utahns with records to be aware of the law and expungement opportunities available to them, to end the stigma around having a criminal record, and to make expungement accessible. And this is really important, especially because all of our very small but mighty team has lived experience, and many of us, have gone through the expungement and pardon process ourselves. So super, super close to home with our little bunch. And then our approach, raise awareness about the law, provide one-on-one support to help individuals self-navigate expungement beyond automatic clearance, elevate the voices of impacted individuals, and advocate for accessible and affordable expungements. And we also fundraise to cover the cost for low-income applicants that don't qualify for a court-based fee waiver. Fresh Start Services, we provide record screenings, BCI application support and fingerprinting, communication with government agencies, case management, support with court processes, and accessing free and low-cost legal services, like the ones we mentioned before. Financial assistance for individuals that qualify, which is typically 225% of the federal poverty level. Utah's government expungement fees. So this is per case, per eligible expungement. So to apply to even find out if you're eligible for expungement, it is $65. That is the fee that Clean Slate covers for every single individual that comes in, unless they really want to pay it. Absolutely, go ahead. And then BCI certificate fees are $65 per case, and that's to even get permission to expunge one record. Court filing fees, $135 to $150 per case. And then individuals may qualify for payment assistance through us or a government fee waiver, which is super cool. The fee waivers are pretty new. And so we've seen a lot of folks get records expunged completely free of charge, which is awesome. And then if you're wondering ways you can help support Second Chances and help support Clean Slate's mission, connect with us on social media or sign up for email updates. Support directly impacted people and fair chance employers. Advocate and share your support for Clean Slate policies with lawmakers, or make a tax-deductible donation to support our work. And this is Destiny's information. She is our executive director. And then there is our website as well. We are just at cleanslateutah.org. So if there's any, links or anything that you want to see, go right ahead. That's where you're going to find most of our stuff. And then we also have a growing social media presence on Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, and TikTok. We're new into the TikTok thing, but we had one blow up, so we're getting there. Awesome. Well, that is the end of my slides, but if anyone has any questions, I would be happy to hang out for a few minutes and answer those.
Thank you, Karley. So thank you. And so I don't see any questions in the chat. What questions do you guys have for Karley?
I have a question. Could you take us through like a step-by-step process of an imagined person, so that we kind of understand all of, I know your slides said a lot, but just like an example.
Absolutely. So I'll go through a typical normal expungement. Not that they're, all the same, because they're not, but typically we will have folks that we will either have referred to us by someone else, they'll fill out our intake form. And very beginning, we reach out to schedule an intake meeting, which is where we go through and make sure that folks don't have any open cases, they're terminated from court supervision, things like that, just to not waste their time and ours, of course, if they're not eligible yet for expungement. And then from there, given that they're in Salt Lake, they'll be invited to our fingerprinting clinic, which is at USARA on 2100 South and 2nd East in South Salt Lake, every Thursday from 9:30 to 4:30. And then folks will come in, that's all walk-in, and we help folks do their initial BCI application, fill out a release of information so we can assist them in communicating with BCI, and then a fee waiver if they qualify. We send that into BCI and we pay their initial application fee. And then we do some waiting, right? Because it's a government system.
Can I just ask you, I'm trying to write all this down for our newsletter.
I can
So can you
absolutely,
talk
yeah.
slower?
Sorry, I'm
So
a yapper.
I've got to fingerprinting clinic Thursdays 9:30 to 4:30. And what's the reason for that?
So that is where folks can walk in to complete their BCI application, which is the Bureau of Criminal Identification.
Okay.
And they're the ones that get to decide what is and isn't eligible for expungement.
Okay.
And then from there, once we've got forms filled out, we provide in-house fingerprinting there as well. So removing another barrier to that. And then we send that off to BCI and we pay the initial $65 application fee. And then we wait, of course, like I said, because it's a government system right now. It's taking them about 4 months to respond initially. So we just kind of tell people, hang on, we didn't forget about you. And then once that is once BCI gets back to us, they'll send us a list of eligible expungements or a denial letter or whatever it looks like for that particular individual. Given that it is a certificate list or a purchase list or a list of eligible charges, that's when we start the petitions process with folks. And so that's when we provide case management and help folks kind of self-navigate those court petitions and send them off to the courts, get filing fees paid or fee waivers sent in. And then from there, we wait for signed orders. Hopefully that's best case scenario. Most of the time they don't deny it, but best case scenario, we wait for signed orders from the judge overseeing the case. We send that off to BCI, and then we wait for BCI to tell us, okay, we removed this record, and we told the FBI to do the same. And so that's per case. So the petitions and the order and the all the things up until we get an expungement verification, and ideally a full expungement for folks, or for folks that are starting like the pardons process. BCI will allow them to expunge dismissals and non-convictions first. So we kind of get those off, and then we can kind of start the pardons process, which is a long and strenuous process with lots of paperwork and grandma requests and all the things. But that is kind of where it starts either way for folks. And then if it turns into a pardon, then we help them build a pardons package, and we wait until they get their day to go in front of the board.
Wow. Okay. Thank you. That's a very complicated process. Thank you for being there.
It's definitely a lot, but it's so worth it to see. And I think as of right now, we have cleared, oh my goodness, I'd have to find the number. We've cleared in the thousands of criminal records this year.
Oh, just in 2025?
Yes.
Wow.
All right, let's see. All right, just to address some questions from the chat. So for Jan, so the difference between the automatic expungement form, which is the one where only misdemeanors are eligible, and then the petition-based expungement process is that. So the petition-based expungement process opens up what is and isn't eligible for expungement. So really, I mean, it's a numbers game with Utah. You can only have a certain number of each class of charge in order to be eligible for traditional expungement, but felonies are absolutely included in that. So we help folks expunge felonies off their records all the time. And then where that numbers game comes in is if there's just too many, then we go for a pardon. So there absolutely is second chances for people with felonies. Let's see, is it possible for an individual to get an expungement for a sex offense? It is possible for an individual to get an expungement for a sex offense, given that their registration period is up. So if they have, you know, a forever registration requirement, obviously that changes things. But for folks that have, you know, a 5, 10, 15-year registration requirement for sex offenses, once that court supervision of that, you know, particular registration is up, then that would allow them to become eligible for expungement. We have helped plenty of people actually go through the expungement process for sex offenses. And of course, we understand that like not every situation is, you know, what it looks like on paper. So I don't want anyone to ever feel like we're going to judge them, because we don't. How is Clean Slate's law performing so far since implementation in 2022? So this one's a little tricky to answer, Shane, because it's so new, even though it feels, you're like, oh, 3 years, that's a long time. It's so new for the state of Utah that we as Utahns, you know, don't have a lot of education on it yet. And there was no direct notification requirement. And so that definitely hindered it a little bit. I think with Clean Slate, like us as an organization, kind of coming into the picture more and doing a lot of events and advocacy and community education, I think things have, you know, kind of become a little more common knowledge. But with the law itself, I think it's still just so new that we're kind of fighting to make sure that everyone knows about it that needs to know about it at least. And then Jenny, is it 5 years from your last conviction? So for an expungement, so let me think of a way to break this down. So basically with any charge, the waiting period is 5 years for that particular charge from the day that you're terminated from court supervision, like parole or probation. And so ideally or hypothetically, if somebody right now were to be terminated from APMP and then come in to get an expungement, that doesn't make it, you know, an automatic denial from us or BCI if they have older charges that have already met that 5-year waiting period. And I mean, 5 years just is is a basic number. Some are 5, some are 7, some are 10. There's a lot of numbers involved here based on the charges, and that's something BCI would be able to give you a better answer on. But um, it you don't have to wait 5 years again after your last charge. You just have to wait the 5 years for that particular charge. So if you're off court supervision and you are not, having any open cases, no plea and abeyances, then we can go ahead and, try and take care of those older charges that have met the time requirement, and then kind of work our way up. And we have folks that apply, more than once for expungements just to kind of knock them all out, based on the waiting periods. So, another one from Shane. For those whose records aren't automatically cleared, what steps can they take to start the petition-based expungement process? So obviously, I'm going to talk about Clean Slate's role in this. So you absolutely could get an expungement lawyer and just totally pay a bunch of money for this. But if you want to start with Clean Slate for petition-based expungement, the first step to that is to fill out an intake form on our website. That automatically puts your information in our system that we use and will assign you to one of the case managers, and then we'll reach out to schedule. So we've got a pretty cool automated system that does that for us. So that first step is pretty easy to get that initial intake meeting scheduled. And then once that's, oh, there it is. There's the intake form. And then once we've met there and kind of made sure that, you've met at least the basic eligibility requirements, then we, like I was telling Molly, just kind of wait and see what BCI says. And then let's see. Since the law doesn't require direct notification, how can someone find out if their record has already been cleared? And so with that one, the direct notification requirement is actually even, or not having it is actually even less helpful than you think. So the notification requirement that we were hoping for was for folks to even be notified that they have charges that are eligible. So those records are still not automatically cleared. And so there's an auto expungement form, which is something that we tend not to use it with Clean Slate because it's just a simple form that folks, if they're wanting to do it, it's pretty simple to do yourself if you know that, the charges that you have are all going to fall under that category. But yeah, their records are not even cleared automatically. They have to fill out the automatic expungement form to do so, which is why the notification requirement would be so cool, to let folks know, like, hey, you have X, Y, and Z charges that you can get expunged if you fill out this form. So even less helpful than you would think. What are the biggest barriers Utahns still face when trying to clear their records, and how does Clean Slate Utah help overcome them? I think the biggest barrier that we run into is just education. Folks often think like, they're not eligible because it's a felony, or they're not eligible because, I don't know, lots of reasons, right? Or they can't afford it, or it's too hard, or you have to have a lawyer. I think these are the things that I hear the most. And honestly, just the way that, our team is able to say that they've done this firsthand and kind of empathize with the fact that, like, this is intimidating and this is scary and it does feel like a lot of work. That's the biggest way that we help folks overcome that. And then as far as the finances, outside of the court fee waivers, we do a lot of fundraising and we get grants to help folks cover the cost of petition-based expungement. And so I think those are the two biggest ones. Just that meeting people where they are and educating them in ways that, can really get through to them, and alleviating some of that anxiety of like, oh, I'm going to do this wrong, or, oh, the courts are going to reject this. And we're like, well, even if they do, we can go back with an appeal. We can go through the pardons process, and really just, like I said, meeting people where they are financially, emotionally, even just intellectually. And that's, it is scary to kind of go through this and and see all these court petitions that to us were like, oh, this is old news, this is easy. But even the first time I saw it as an employee, I was like, oh, this is scary. This looks legit. And so I think those are the biggest ways that we kind of help folks overcome those barriers. Can you share a success story that really shows the personal impact of record clearance? So this is something that that I think we see a lot of. There's not even one in particular. Even just this month, we have sat in Board of Pardons meetings with our clients and seen them granted full pardons, which is so powerful. We have a lot of, clients that come back and want to do volunteer work for us. We have a lot of folks that, have gone through treatment programs and, like USARA, for example, they're not necessarily a treatment program, but support advocates for recovery. And, we've helped, their employees, we've helped Odyssey House and all these people that are, now coming back in to do these very like serving jobs that other people have, done for them. And so I think that's the biggest success story for me, is just seeing folks that are able to really take this opportunity and run with it and go back and, help and do all the things that feel meaningful for them now that they're allowed to do so because they've had this path to redemption. Let's see. How can advocacy organizations like UPAN best support or collaborate with Clean Slate Utah to expand access and awareness? I think just that, just bring awareness of the Clean Slate law and Clean Slate Utah. That's kind of our biggest barrier in general in the state. It's just like nobody knows about it, so nobody's gonna ask and nobody's gonna know if they're eligible or not if they don't know. So that's the biggest thing. Just tell people that you think could benefit from this service that we provide and from the Clean Slate law about it, and send them our way. We are a very small team, but we are very mighty. There's only 5 of us, but you would think that there was like 20 because we're very mighty. And then for those who want to help, what are the best ways for individuals or community members to get involved with Clean Slate Utah's mission? Again, like I said, tell people about us. We have folks that come in, that are in their 80s and say, I just want to get this off my record because I can. And that it's my favorite, actually. I'm like, yes, let's do this. And it just kind of shows that, the weight that these convictions carry on people for a long time. And once they realize like, oh, I can get this off my record, it's like, I don't really care if this is affecting me, employment wise or housing wise anymore. I just want to get it off for me. And I think that's really cool. But yeah, send people our way. Of course, we do a lot of tabling and events, like at recovery days, and things like that when those arise. And we're always happy to, say hi, give out pamphlets, all the things. And then we also are doing some presentations in the prison coming up. So I wasn't at the last one, but the other gals went and visited the men out at the state prison. And then this next time around, we're going to be going and visiting the women and kind of giving an overview and hopefully cultivating some hope for when folks are, out and they're ready to start this process. And, for most folks in prison, it is a pardons process just because, the numbers game, of course. And so kind of giving folks that that hope that there is a path to redemption, and that there is a path to, this isn't going to follow me around forever. The waiting period is still long, of course, and I know that can be very disheartening to folks, like, I'm ready. I've been in prison all these years. I've done my time, and then you got to wait again, which is a little disheartening. But I think it's nice to be able to go in there and say, we're here for you when you're ready, and we're excited to see you when you're ready. Like, come see us. Let's see. Are there time limits on how recent a conviction is? So the time limit is on the specific charge that you are wanting to seek expungement for. And so if you, I mean, I'll give a hypothetical. If I were just barely getting off of parole or probation right now, but I've got charges from 10 years ago, I can't get that charge that I just got terminated off of AP&P for expunged, but I can start on the process for the older charges. And so that's kind of where the time limit works. And of course, every charge has a different time limit or time requirement. Typically it's about 5 years, just from what we see, but it can go up to 10 just based on the offense. And so it's a little tricky. Really, the only way that we know for sure is having folks apply to BCI. Because I mean, we've seen folks come back and be like, oh, I didn't think that was going to be eligible yet. And so they're kind of the all allowing entity there. So whatever they say goes. Does Clean Slate go to the Central Utah Correctional Facility to talk to the incarcerated there as well? That's not something that we've done yet, but I do know that our plan is ideally to go through and at least give a presentation in every single facility that will have us. There's obviously a background check process and things involved there too, where we have to get cleared to go in, which is what makes it kind of tricky because we're waiting on it for the prison now, but who knows? That's something that we've definitely talked about wanting to kind of bring more wide scale awareness to. We do a lot of events, like I said, down there though as well. This summer, oh my goodness, I'm losing my train of thought. This past summer, we went down to the reservations. We went down to Southern Utah, Summit County, just to kind of bring these services to folks that maybe don't have reliable internet access, that don't have the ability to go in and easily get fingerprinted like we have in Salt Lake. And so that's something that's really important to us. We do a lot of I don't know how you'd say it. I guess like traveling fingerprint clinics, which is really cool because then we're able to go down there, meet people where they are, and get those applications sent off. And then after that part's done, it's really easy to do the petitions process and kind of help folks self-navigate over the internet. But that initial one where, okay, you got to go find somewhere to get fingerprinted yourself, you got to fill out these forms without somebody making sure that you're filling it out right. And it makes it really tricky. So it's cool to be able to go and do it in person in areas where we wouldn't normally be. And I myself, I live in Tooele County. I'm from Salt Lake County, but I live in Tooele County, and now even living here, it's a lot more rural than you think it is. And that commute from here to Salt Lake for some is impossible. And so I actually just did the Tooele Recovery Days and offered BCI applications and fingerprinting on site there as well, just to again, remove some of those barriers. We'll be sending someone to the Salt Lake County UDC community resource events. I don't know about that one specifically. That's more of a Destiny's email invite thing and not me, but any events that we're invited to, we try to come and we will do a table, and we don't always do applications and fingerprints, just depending on the event, but we do try to have that option available for folks when they come up to be able to just, okay, we're at this resource fair, let's get this done now, and we'll call you later when BCI gets back to us. I do know we just did the JJYS resource fair. I was there about a couple weeks ago. So we try to come to every event that we're invited to. Of course, we're a very small team of 5, so wherever we can allocate the manpower, we will if we can. All
Right.
right.
I think that's all the questions in the chat. Does anybody else? Molly.
I have another one. Okay, just to clarify, so I'm not totally confused. So, if because we're going to get asked questions. So let me give an example. Say someone is on has a 0 to 5 felony, like a third degree felony, and then they're finished with that, but then they just got a second degree conviction but yet they got lucky enough to be on probation. As long as they're not institutionalized and that 5 years is up and they've been finished from that, and they could still start their expungement for the first one, even if they're on probation or whatever for the second, or no?
So you have to be completely terminated from all court supervision,
All
including like plea and abeyances. And so whatever the plea and abeyance there has to be completed, whatever time limit has to be completed for that. So no court supervision at all, including the stalking injunctions and protective orders.
okay,
As long as any of those are active, BCI will deny.
okay, and that would include parole supervision, AP&P supervision
Yeah.
too. Okay, that's I think where I got confused. Thank
Yeah.
you so much.
So once there's no court supervision, including AP&P, then we can start the process. And then I got one more in the chat. What types of convictions are not eligible for expungement? Did I hear correctly that you can get help with the pardon process for those who can't be expunged? So again, with Utah, it's mostly a numbers game. So once you've surpassed the threshold of, charges or the number of charges allowed for expungement in Utah, that's when we do move to the pardons process. There's not a lot of convictions in particular that are eligible or ineligible. The only thing that, we can't help with in any way are federal charges or out-of-state charges. And then we do provide case management to help folks navigate the pardon process. We have a lot of pardon clients right now. And just for anyone that's wondering, the whole process usually takes about 2 years. There's a lot that goes into it. Letters of recommendation or character letters. We have to individually request police reports, do a lot of grammar requests and things like that. And so it's a big deal, right? We end up with a lot of paperwork or a really big Google Drive at the end of it, but we do help folks with that process, both, online, or we also have a lot of folks that are working on their pardons come in and see us on Thursdays, and we just kind of go through and, purchase police reports, or we upload letters of recommendation, and get them all ready for when they do get their day in front of the Board of Pardons. And I will say this as my closing piece. Right now, our Board of Pardons is really trauma informed, and we've been seeing a lot of people get granted full pardons, and that's really cool. So anyone in your own lives that thinks like, oh, I'm gonna go up in front of them and they're gonna tell me no, I would say you have some winning odds right now, because they're a great bunch, and we're seeing a lot of pardons and seeing them really approach people with a lot of kindness and respect and empathy. And that's really, really cool. I just watched one like 2 weeks ago, and I was, I'm a total crybaby, and I'm just sitting there like, oh, that was such a good answer, and it's really cool to see, folks that are like so intimidated by this process really come in to this and realize like these folks, are on their side. And it's so cool. Redemption is awesome, and clean slates are awesome. So find us on our website, cleanslateutah.org. You can pretty much find us anywhere once you find us on the website. Our intake form is on there, and then links to all of our socials. There's bios for our small little team on there as well, if you're interested in that. And then Destiny is our executive director. Any questions that are out of my wheelhouse can always be forwarded to her, and her contact information is on our website as well.
Thank you
guys.
so much.
Yeah, we really appreciate all the work you're doing in the community. This is incredible. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
And
This is a great bunch. There's a lot of you in here. Again, feel free to reach out if you have any questions. I am gonna hop off, but I appreciate your time and listening to me yap very fast, apparently. Sorry, guys.
Oh, you're just concise. That's it.
Yes. Awesome. Well, thank you guys, and have a good night.
Thank you so much.
Okay, well, so that was a great presentation. The next leg of our meeting, we would, before everybody goes, I typically like to turn some time over to Molly. There's some updates you want to talk about?
Oh my goodness. I posted a whole bunch of updates after our last stakeholders meeting on the family Facebook group, and they were included in the October newsletter. So hopefully everybody on here either is on the Facebook group or receives the monthly UPAN newsletter by email. So we have another stakeholders meeting tomorrow where we have a long list of questions and concerns that hopefully we'll get answers to. So just everybody know, we are still trying to find out what they're going to do about mail and communication. They keep telling us that they are trying to find alternatives to the Pigeonly contract because the contract isn't living up to what it's supposed to do. But every month they have told us they're not ready to talk to us about it. We are hoping that it will be physical mail coupled with electronic communication, such as email through tablets or kiosks. But because of safety and security issues, and I don't know, they just tell me they just have to make sure everything's, safe. And I think everybody knows that there was a pilot program in the women's unit that started a few months ago, I think at the first of the summer, um, with an electronic system. And I still am not clear whether it was tablets or tablets and kiosk, but then they had a bunch of glitches. So they're still working on it because they wanted to start with the women because there are only 400 women versus 1,800 men in Gunnison, and what it would that be 2,800 men in Salt Lake. So we don't have answers to that yet. The other thing that I can't remember everything that's on that list, but we keep getting rumors for the upcoming, they want to keep moving people around, and we keep advocating for safety in their housing. And everybody's aware that there have been problems with safety in the way they've rehoused people since March in USCF and the BEAR units, the general men's population units. And hopefully we'll get a few answers to that tomorrow. I mean, there's no promise. I just ask. And we ask and we ask and we just keep asking until we get answers. We also, I'm trying to remember, I was going to print out well, I printed it out, but I have piles of paper and I don't know where it is. The other issues that we're trying to get answers for are when are they going to have the final visiting rules posted on the website for all visitors to see so that people, especially new people that are new to the system, can learn what's expected and what they can wear before they show up and get turned away. But it seems like there's just changes. There are still changes about some of their processes on a regular basis. So I am going to tell you what I learned this week. So some of you may know I went to the visits at USCF on whatever day it was, sometime on the weekend. And um, they had taken away the stickers on the tables that told you do not cross the red sticker where you're not supposed to get close to the plexiglass. And they took the stickers off on the sides of the table where you're supposed to put your drink and your glasses and your Kleenex and your table visiting card and all of that. Those are gone. And I want to toot our horn. Everybody that wrote and complained about that, we complained. I complained. I talked to the Division of Prison Operations director last month in our stakeholder meeting, and they hadn't even seen those stickers. So she sent the deputy chief of the Division of Prison Operations in to look at it. His name is Nick Bricker, and I am told that he did not like it, and those stickers are gone. I don't know if they ever put those stickers on in CUCF. Amanda, did they put those stickers on in CUCF or Heidi or somebody? Do you know? Okay. Anyway,
No,
no?
no, we've never had them there.
Okay, so this was just a Salt Lake thing then. Okay. But we did get the top people in the Division of Prison Operations involved. And so I know it sounds like a little win, but it's kind of a big win when you could get um when you can get complete like visit suspended if you don't have your drink on the green rectangle. So anyway, that's done. But we are still trying to get those written rules. We've noticed the way they're doing their calendars is different, and I've had a conversation with one person and then emails back and forth with another person because they're not posting the calendars for the following month. So now is October. Normally, we should have October's calendar and November's calendar on the scheduling website, but we only have October. And this makes it difficult for anyone who comes from out of town, from out of state, or who out of country, and they have to arrange for flights and motel rooms and everything like that. So that's not on the agenda for tomorrow. I've emailed the lieutenants about that. So for anybody that's concerned about that, we're working on that. UAs, I saw something in the chat about UAs. We are getting a lot of concerns about different types of, and this is, it's happened in green, it's happened in antelope, and it's happened in bear, where they're giving them dilutions. Like if their urine looks too light, they're saying they're diluted. But I understand there's a test they can do to determine the pH of it in case it is diluted or not. But there are people on medications where they have to drink a lot of water. There are, well, it was the summer when a lot of this was happening, and so they were just drinking a lot of water. Um, and then Okay, Albert on here talks about new fee for dirty UA sounds kind of expensive. Albert, are you talking about fines? Because they don't pay fees for their UAs unless it's getting sent to a lab. And we've been told that the way they're doing UAs right now is people are not even getting their results for a few days. They're getting the notice of the write-up a few days later, and then that's how they know they got identified as dirty, which is too late to do a new UA to send to the lab, which they would have to pay for. So we've asked them about that. I I know that I've emailed about it and I can't remember if it's going to be on the agenda tomorrow. So Albert, are you talking about fines or are you talking about something else we don't know what can you answer that for me, Albert?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yeah, now I can hear you.
Okay. As the meeting started, one of my friends from the prison called. Uh, he does fairly often. We have a joint savings account, by the way, which helps him a lot. Um, but he said, I'm a little concerned about these new fines. I said, do you get dirty UAs? Oh, it's been decades. He's been out there 35 years. I says, why are you worried then? Um, but he says, hearing the first fine is $400, the second fine is 600 something. He's that sounds a little crazy. So I brought it up for his sake, even though he shouldn't have to worry about it. I thought,
Okay.
uh,
We can ask about that. I do know, and I think everybody is aware that they have really ramped up their interdictions for drugs in the prison, and which is why they've changed everything in visiting, why they changed the pigeon link, everything. So I'm wondering if that's just another piece of it. But what we keep trying to remind them of is that it's in many cases, these fines, they're going to be paid by the families because they're not. I'm going to risk this a little bit, and I know this is going to be public, so I probably want to be careful. But if you're the one running the drugs and you don't use the drugs, you're not going to get a dirty UA, and you're the one that has the money to pay that kind of a fine. But if you're buying the drugs at exorbitant prices, um, you're not going to have the money to pay those fines. And so I know it's punishment because if the families can't put money on the books to pay the fines, then the prison takes 65% or 50% or whatever out of the account each month until it's paid. But the fines really hurt the families more than they hurt anyone, I think, is my opinion. Um, but Jenny, they can fine whatever they want. Like, there's no legislation that puts a cap on fines in the institutions. So if that's something somebody wants to take up and go talk to their legislators and see if that can be changed, my understanding is the fines are not determined by the legislature. The fines are determined by the institution. Does anybody know different?
When I was in prison, it was the institution. You could get the policy. If you got a nice guard who would actually let you look at the policy without giving you grief. Um, but it needs to be in policy. So if there's an inmate there who wants to go read it, they shouldn't be denied it. In Gunnison, all the policy numbers were listed on the wall, and we just went, I want that policy. And they were really cool. But I've been home for 14 years, Molly. Isn't that cool?
Yeah, that's
Um,
cool, Alan, or excuse me, Albert.
eh,
So now, just so you know, they have tablets that they're supposed to be able to look those policies up on.
yeah, Gary says he loves the tablets, but they've taken away the tablets from whatever unit he's in for a minute. I says, hey, let's be glad you get them from time to time. But the other thing, when I was there, and my friend just confirmed they still do it. Oftentimes they will do quote random UAs,
Yeah,
but I was told I had 6 UAs in 2 weeks once. Says, what's going on? And a nice guard, and yes, there are plenty of them. And I was there who were quite nice. He said, you got on the fast track. I don't know who you made mad,
right. That
but
still happens.
um, he said, let's get you off the fast track. And they often put those people who don't have drug offenses on the UAs. And I had guards actually tell me this because if we test you and we know you're never going to be tested positive, we have less work to do.
Okay. Okay. Well, I know we got off track with the drugs, but um yeah, they still fast track and they fast track people they suspect of it too. I've been getting a lot of complaints and families have been sending in I can't advocate for how they do their UAs other than if families will give me the step-by-step process we're told that they're using, and I can send that in saying, is it true? Because they've changed the way they label them. And, there have just been some changes that the top administration needs to know what they're doing down in the housing units to make sure that those UAs are being done properly and that the machines are calibrated because last summer, we had a lot of complaints and they learned that the machines in CUCF needed to be recalibrated. So I want to go back to Heidi's thing, visiting updates. That's right. We thought that,
It's not on that. I just wanted to mention also that if they get a dirty UA, they can get a swab test, but it costs the incarcerated individual, I think it was $28. That's a lot of money for them.
right, but the problem we're seeing in USCF is they're not getting the notification that the UA is dirty until anywhere from 4 or 5 days later to
Oh,
one person. His wife just, or a woman I visit that visits when I visit, her husband didn't get his notification for 2 weeks, and it's when he got served with his write-up, and it was too late to get retested.
no. And CUCF they'll tell them it's dirty, and that's when they have the option. But that's still a lot of money. I mean, $28 is a lot of commissary they can buy.
Well, $28, I'm serious. If I'm clean, I'd rather pay the $28 than a $400 fine.
No, that's true.
Yeah. I
True.
mean, I'm not defending it, but that all the outside labs have cost for years. Um, so, but back to the visiting. So okay, I'm going to own this. I misunderstood, and it taught me, you clarify everything that corrections tells you. Because what we were told in last month's stakeholders meeting is CUCF is is revising their visiting to be aligned with is revising their visiting times to align with USCF. So silly me, because I've been asking why CUCF can't have 2-hour visits like USCF for months. I thought that's what it meant. Okay, first rule, I'm a therapist. What does assuming do? Okay, so I'm eating my crow. That's not what it meant, because when I emailed him a couple weeks ago asking when are you going to implement the 2-hour visits in CUCF, they got all flustered and they came back and they said, "Oh no, that's not what we meant. We meant that we were going to open up more video visiting times in CUCF, so that would be more equal with the video visiting times available in USCF." Okay, so that's a win. That's a good thing. I said, "Well, why can't you make it 2-hour visits?" And what she explained is the reason USCF can have 2-hour visits like we used to in Draper is that we have multiple visiting rooms. So we have the main visiting room for the general population in Bear 1, 2, and 4. And then in green, where you've got substance use and sex offense treatment, you have a visiting room in that building. For the women, you have a visiting room in their building. And then in current, the men's geriatric, the visiting room is in their building. And then in Antelope, the visiting room is for Max, the barriers are in their building. Well, we have barriers in the main visiting room too, but they said that in Gunnison they only have the one visiting room. So they have to walk the incarcerated from their housing units over there. But if they were to give everybody 2-hour visits, then they would have fewer visits overall because of the time, the number of different housing units that would get that extra half hour. I hope I'm making sense. That's how they explained it to me. So I apologize to the world that I misunderstood when she said, and you guys, some of you were on that stakeholders advocate meeting with me. She said, we're aligning the times. So I thought it meant length of visits, not visiting slots. So sorry about that. Okay, let's go down. Jenny, okay, at specific gravity, on the year. Okay. And honestly, Jenny, again, we're not an expert, and basically we just send in the concerns, and sometimes we get lucky and they talk to us about it. And other times, like last year when they admitted they needed to recalibrate some of the machines, and other times we don't get answers. Okay, Maggie asks, who gets UA testing? Well, officers get UA testing randomly too, but all inmates are subject to random UA testing. So everybody is subject to it. We have, I know some people that say I got, only one UA this whole year. And then the next year he's gotten one a month consistently. So, and supposedly never dirty. So I don't know how they figure out their randoms. Um, oh, Susan agrees that yes, it's the families that pay. And then the many that don't have tablets, I want to be clear. For whoever said that people, oh, Albert, I think said, so they've been taking tablets away, and we kind of freaked out about this about a month ago when they started doing it. They're just doing it one unit at a time, not even a whole building. I think it's just one housing unit. And they're doing an audit, so they're going through the tablets to make sure that they're all intact, that they're not being used improperly, that they're all that they were all turned in from the person they were assigned to. But I know when my loved one, who's in the Bears, had his take, he used to have his own tablet. Everybody in there had their own tablet. When they gave him back to his unit, which is Bear One, they have to share tablets. They have two people to every tablet. So just everybody needs to be really aware. If you had a tablet on your own, log out every single time you put that down. I don't care if you just go into the bathroom, because if you stay logged in and whoever else is assigned to that tablet, they could very easily pick it up and see your stuff. Anyway. So Susan says they will not give swab tests in some sections. I don't know, Susan, what sections are we talking about? Maybe
Okay,
Susan.
so my son has been repeatedly tested every couple of days. And he said that there was a rule that said that he could get a swab test if he requested it. And they said, no, you can't. And so he actually has filed a grievance, but we'll see where that goes. But they denied it. He's over in Antelope High Side at this point.
Okay. Antelope is where we're getting some of the complaints about the UAs as well. Antelope is, for those who don't know, is maximum security in USCF. I have not got complaints from maximum in CUCF this year, which is interesting because they were the ones that had the most of the complaints about false positives and problems with the UAs last year. But that surprises me that they won't give, yeah, when you
Yeah,
hear stuff like
they
this,
just denied it.
we need to probably share it with all the directors so we can decide in our directors' meetings which things we need to be put on the agenda. It's too late to put on anything on the agenda for tomorrow to
Yeah.
add anything, but this concerns me. I think every inmate has a right to ask for a swab test, don't they?
Well, and it's in their policy. It says in their policy. So he was able to find the policy. And so he, like I say, he filed a grievance. So we'll see what happens.
Well, thank you. And thank him for being willing to file the grievance because a lot of
Yeah,
people don't want to do it.
well, because there's often retaliation. So
Exactly. Exactly. So, do we have other questions or concerns? There's probably plenty of things I have not thought about. And maybe Karen needs to talk about, so everybody on here knows about the holiday Christmas program. She's talked about it for the last couple months and it's been in our UPAN newsletter. So, you want to update us?
Okay, there we go. Good evening, everybody. We've got 1 week left to finish getting the applications in, and so far we are up to 173 individual requests for the children. Again, I stated this before, but it's worth remembering. We had one caseworker that Molly and I were able to just talk about the Christmas program, and she works in Dale, and a good third of the requests this year are from Dale. So, I mean, kudos to her. She went back and spread the word and let the moms know so they could participate. We were overcome by events this weekend, so we weren't able to lock down our training, but I have validated all of the requests that have come in so far. I have spoke or got a message or something from the responsible adult. And so I don't anticipate any problems with that this year. We won't get any surprises with someone complaining that an attempt at contact is being made that they don't want made.
Right.
So we're just waiting for some type of training date, and then we can start loading them in. So far it's going to work out to about 27 to 35 requests or wish lists for each one of the directors that's volunteered to help. So although that can be pretty intensive in the work itself. It shouldn't be overwhelming for any one of us. We should have the time to get those loaded in and be able to do the promoting for those wish lists and have another successful outcome.
So just so everybody knows, is the way UPAN does this, because we do not have a brick and mortar building. So we are not gathering donations of toys or anything. It's not a Toys for Tot thing. Every incarcerated parent that submits an application for their child, after Karen confirms with the guardian or the custodial parent or whoever the caregiver is in the community, then that is going through an Amazon wish list. So if somebody wants to sponsor a child of a Utah prisoner this year, they can, like Shane's got on the screen here, they can go once these are all loaded. Karen's talked about the volunteers, directors that are loading those. They can go to the website and then there's also a All Hearts Come Home for the Holidays Facebook page, and they can find the age of the child and what that child is hoping for and or needs. And then you go to Amazon and you do it just like you would do if you're, getting a wedding gift or something, a baby gift or something else off of the Amazon wish list. That way you pay for it, the sponsor pays for it directly to Amazon, and then Amazon can deliver it directly to the recipient. And UPAN doesn't have to handle anyone's money. It gets to where it's supposed to go, and it's the way we can do this without us managing to forward gifts for 173 children. Oh, so we also are looking for people who want to sponsor a child if they're interested.
And I got the most wonderful letter from a woman who lives in Idaho, and she didn't explain how she was acquainted with UPAN, but she had a very grateful heart for UPAN and for what UPAN tries to do. And she said, "I'm just a little grandma, and I don't even know what to shop for." But she said, "I want to know, can I just send you a check or a money order and you can fulfill one of the wishes?" I thought that was so touching. She said, "If anybody can do this, it's UPAN. If anybody cares enough to do this, it's UPAN."
Oh.
And I thought that was just that's the kind of attitude that we're looking for. None of us can go out there and fulfill all the broken promises and all the wishes of all these families, but we can all do a little bit to let the families know that, none of us are in this alone. We're all here to pick up a little bit of the weight that each other is carrying and help a little bit and add some positive light and some positive input to a very hard situation.
That's beautiful. That's so beautiful. Yeah.
We don't have it implemented yet, but like I had talked to you, Molly and Karen, and I think we're pretty much a go on the donor box.
Mm-hmm.
It's a fundraising platform which will allow people to actually send in money. You can will be able to go to a website, plug in your credit or debit card. You'll be able to even do it, I think, through text, QR code, Venmo. All the current payment application platforms are kind of all in one. So however anybody wishes to pay, and you would donate to the cause. It would go to a separate account that UPAN has established for this purpose. So the funds are separate from regular Utah Prisoner Advocate funds, and any of the unfulfilled wish lists can be used. Those funds can be used for that, or it can spill over into next year's program. into getting things up, because there is a cost for these platforms and to run this and promote, and and there's some cross promotion programs that we're working with several organizations, and it seems to get bigger and bigger every year. And so I'm doing my best to try to find ways to streamline that. I think this is going to be a good solution for us. So keep your eyes open for an announcement on that coming soon. But that will allow, so like if you don't have the time to go to Amazon and fill out a wish list, or some people just aren't technically savvy enough to go on there and know how to do that, it'll just be some more simpler way that you can just donate online, and you'll get a charitable donation receipt. So if you itemize on your taxes, you can write it off as well.
And for people that do that, then it will be, so our directors that have a zone, a geographical area in Utah of the children that are recipients, then they can go in and order for them, or that's what we haven't figured out, is how to handle all of this, because we spent a lot of hours ordering for people that just, like my friends would say, oh, I don't have time to do it, but I'll Venmo you $200 and you pick me two families or whatever. But what I did, and I'm just going to share this was really cool, but I was able to do it because I only have two great grandchildren that are little that I buy for. So we have birthdays, and we have 9 birthdays and Christmas all between October 31st and Christmas Eve in our family. And those are my sons and my grandchildren and my daughters-in-law and granddaughters-in-law. Okay. So last year, they're like, well, they're all adults. So they're like, well, I don't know, a gift card. So I said, no, you know what we're going to do? And we got together, and each of my grandsons on one day picked boys from a family that had 5 boys in it. And they got on Amazon one at a time and picked the items. And it was all clothing items that these boys needed. And they got a big kick out of that. And they said, this is so much cooler than getting a gift card from you, Grandma. And of course, I paid for that. But that was their Christmas and birthday. And then I did it with my granddaughter separately because she doesn't live in the same house. And then I did it with my 2 sons and my daughter-in-law. And then I did it for my granddaughter-in-law because she didn't show up to any of them. But they thought that was the coolest thing. And my grandsons are all in their 20s. And so it was a good family gathering that we were able to do. So we all got a lot out of it. So we can be really creative in how we do things. So, and I wasn't out any more money than I would have been had I bought each of my grandsons, my adult grandsons, and my granddaughter a present.
And Molly, we did that. I belong to a wonderful group of women in our book club. And as part of our holiday get together, which is in the end of November, I just took some of the wish list, and the women in the club proceeded to select which ones of those lists they wanted to fulfill. And we did that instead of exchanging gifts with each other that evening. And so, like you said, there are a lot of creative ways to approach this. And for people who, everybody's on a budget this year. Things are all a little tighter. But I will share with you that there are so many requests on these lists for Play-Doh, coloring books, new socks, a teddy bear, Matchbox cars. So it's like this attitude has spread. Even in the requests, people realize that budgets are a little tighter and the requests are very reasonable this year. So even if you only have $10 or $15 to have extra that you could put towards this, we have a need for it, and there's a request that you can fulfill.
Thank you, Karen. Yeah. Anyway, so that's our plug for the holiday project it's launching. And it was slower because of Pigeonly for people to get the August newsletter that had the application. And I don't know how many families that receive it actually print it and send it to their incarcerated loved ones, but hopefully everybody got that August newsletter sent to their loved one if they had a child. And so we're getting excited.
That's great. Any other announcements or community issues that we want to talk about? Questions? Any of y'all have questions for the UPAN directors?
I did have one more thing. And maybe it's something that we can address it tomorrow, but maybe in the future. The pill lines have not been consistently on time. And in the area where my son is incarcerated, this has messed up him and several others in being able to attend some of their scheduled classes, because they have to get their meds before they go to class. But if the med lines are anywhere from 45 minutes to an hour and a half late, then they're too late then to go to class. And he did ask me when I visited this weekend, he said, can you inquire about that? He said, even if we knew that they were consistently going to be late, he said, we might be able to work something out with the teachers, but right now it is disrupting their ability to attend class. And this is out of Bear 4.
I've had those reports from all of the bears. And all I've done is I've sent an email to corrections@utah.gov because that's what they keep telling us to do. And I think if more families would send that to corrections@utah.gov, it would really help that UDC doesn't just think it's Molly Prince has nothing better to do than send them an email today about a problem. Like seriously, it really helps when they hear it from more than just me or UPAN. But it is something that I can bring up to Dr. Wisner. I'm expecting some answers from him, hopefully tomorrow on some other things. But today was a holiday. It just didn't even dawn on me, and I was sending emails. So I don't know. Like, I guess we'll see how much time we have tomorrow, Karen. But I think if we email corrections@utah.gov and then CC the med team at UPenn on it, then maybe if I get 10 copies of those emails, I can go directly to Dr. Wisner and say, look, we've got 10 families that loved ones are complaining. I learned in my sociology class way decades ago, I was told when one person writes a complaint to their legislator or to an authority figure, there are 10 more who aren't bothering to complain, but who are upset about it. So if I get 10, then that sort of tells me there's 100 people out there that are suffering.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks.
Okay. Anything else? Any other questions to bring up?
I can't see pictures on here, Shane, so I don't know if anybody's like nodding their heads or anything.
Oh, can you guys not see each other?
No.
Really?
Mm-mm.
Oh, this
You've got the open discussion slide on.
How about
I
now?
have my video on, sorry.
Can you see each other now?
You can
It says-
change your view, Molly.
Yeah, up in the
At the
corner.
top.
For
It
me, there's
says-
a few.
It says open discussion, your slide.
But,
And
but you can select something so you see the participants too on the side or at the top or.
Well, yeah, all I see is the directors, 5 directors, and it's not a full page of people anymore.
Can you
So
scroll
it's-
down at the bottom?
Yeah, but if I see the whole page, then I can see people nodding or waving but I can't, anyway.
Okay. So quick plug for next month. We are excited to have Jared Garcia, the executive director of Utah Department of Corrections. We have submitted some questions for him, and the tradition kind of started with Brian Redd a couple of years ago, and we're we're really happy that Director Garcia's agreed to continue that tradition and address the UPAN audience and our questions for November. And generally in November, we also have a theme for that, which is gratitude, since it's usually around Thanksgiving. So we publish gratitude articles in our newsletter, and then that's sort of the theme. But he will be answering some pre-submitted questions, and we're really excited. That's going to be a really good one. We encourage you to join for that. Anything else, Molly? Anybody else? Okay, well, I think we can end early. So happy fall, everybody. Thank you for being here, and we'll see you next time.
Thanks, Shane.
you.
Thank you.